Vietnam world. I'm a shorter than average girl from down under, and today we're looking at the second book in the Deltora quest series, The Lake of Tears. So for me, The Lake of Tears is actually a step up from the Forests of Silence. It takes you on more of an emotional journey. And this is owing to the fact that the main villain of the story, the sorceress Thaegan, which I've been pronouncing as Thaegan for a very long time, but apparently it's like the name Reagan, but with a T. So yeah. But anyway, so the sorceress Thaegan, she's actually not in the story for very long. She only shows up for a little bit in the end. But every character that you meet in this book has been affected by Thaegan one way or another. And everyone under Thaegan's rule has been like that for 100 years. Way before Deltora's invasion by the Shadow Lord. So their suffering, resilience, and patience is leagues ahead of the main cast. To be honest, the main cast are actually some of the most privileged characters in the story, with better upbringings than most of the citizens of Deltora. And that's saying something, because Jasmine grew up in the forest all on her own. So let that sink in before we get into this book, because this one's gonna make you feel something. And the anime episodes? They were good. I actually think I like them more than the way that I imagined the original story after reading it. If you want to catch my child-friendly reaction to the episodes, they're episodes 3, 4, 5, and 6 in the Hobbit React playlist, which I have linked up here right now. And lastly, if you're only here for the book and anime review, then you can go to the time shown on the screen right now or the timestamp in the description, whichever suits you best. But for now, let's talk stories. So, the Forest of Silence ends with Jasmine being coerced to join Leaf and Barda on the quest by her late mother. But she's not too keen to follow them to the Lake of Tears, because they'd be crossing through the territory of the formidable sorceress Thaegan. But they don't heed her concerns and walk right into Thaegan's territory nonchalant. And this is where they're stopped by a giant in front of a bridge.
Hello there.
Spoiler alert, the giant is actually a bird cursed by Thaegan to never fly again or see any other land except the one he's standing on to guard the bridge. But given that our protagonists are also enemies of Thaegan, he gives them a chance. Answer the riddle, and you're free to cross the bridge. And they all managed to cross the bridge with the added bonus that they lifted the curse off the bird.
You're free again!
And they made a new friend. Now, this isn't the only friend that they make in Thaegan's territory. Grey Guards are escorting a Rallad man named Manus. The trio free Manus, and in turn, Manus saves them from being eaten by Thaegan's children, Jin and Jod, 2 of the 13 monstrosities that Thaegan has. And don't ask me about logistics or who the father is, cause no one knows. It turns out that Manus had been caught into Jin and Jod's trap, but due to his side, they didn't eat him. Instead, he was their slave for 5 years, watching people being captured and eaten by Jin and Jod while he had to prep and clean up the messes. And when he finally found out how to escape and did it, he was caught by Grey Guards. And if you think that's it for Manus, you have another thing coming. When the people of Rallad protested against Thaegan, she took away their ability to speak. Not to add that when the Shadow Lord invaded, he had his eyes on some Rallad slaves. You know, due to their smarts, their strength, their hard-working nature. Man, these people don't catch a break. So they ended up building an underground city and have lived in hiding ever since. Because Leaf, Barda, and Jasmine had saved Manus's life, he wanted to repay them by leading them to their next destination, the Lake of Tears. The now lake was actually a city, the Golden City of Door, which actually just means gold in French. Now, Thaegan was jealous of their beauty and decided to turn the city into a lake, its people into these grubby, wormy things, which infest the water, the chief of Door, Nanian, into a sea serpent-esque creature called Soldeen, and his wife Athena into a rock in the middle of the lake, which looks like La Llorona. Thaegan is an absolute piece of work. When they reach the Lake of Tears, which is a very appropriately named lake now that we know the history, they had no idea how to find the gem without being attacked by the worms or Soldeen. And this is when Leaf uses the ability of the topaz to clear his mind. And the answer was playing music? It actually turns out to be the correct answer, because the music got through to Soldeen. This lonely fish in darkness and depression was calmed by the music of Manus's flute, and so decided to bargain with the trio, give him Manus, and he'll give the gem in exchange. But the trio ain't having it, even though Manus was willing to sacrifice himself for the quest. And so the fight ensued.
Go ahead and try, you overgrown catfish! No, leave!
During the fight, the topaz makes contact with Soldeen, and the memories of his past life come back to him. This makes him cooperate, and he gives them the ruby willingly. But Thaegan ain't having that, so she swoops in to try and stop them, and also take revenge for what they did to her precious babies, Jin and Jod. Now, the thing with Thaegan is, you only need to let out one drop of her blood and she's kaput. But she also has a magic shield around her body, so nothing could actually kill her. But the tip of her little finger of the left hand is where all her magic comes out of, and is her Achilles heel. Because magic needs to come out of it, it does not have a shield. So as she's performing a spell, Kree swoops in and pecks her on the finger, letting out a drop of blood and releasing all those that Thaegan had wronged from her curses. Now, this is ironic, because Thaegan's favorite food is a live raven, which Kree is. And in fact, Thaegan was the one who had captured and eaten all of Kree's family. It was Jasmine who saved Kree as a babe, and that's the reason why Jasmine didn't want to go through Thaegan's territory at the beginning. But now, because Thaegan had spared Kree so that she could have a snack after the fight, she was gone for good, at least in the books. And now the trio have two gems, the topaz and the ruby. Super solid story if I don't say so myself. And the anime does go and change things from the book, but I actually really like those changes. Like, one of the changes that they make is to the riddles that the giant the bridge gives them. I actually thought they were better puzzles, especially the one given to Barda. Another change that they made is the way that they escaped from Jin and Jod, but I kind of like the story's version better. And then the fight with Thaegan. That was good. I mean, what did I expect from an anime? The Japanese know how to do fights. And for 2006, this is pretty good. But the biggest difference is Thaegan's magic. In the anime, it comes from a ring that she wears. So when she's defeated and turns into yellow dust, a Shadow Lord rat comes and takes the ring and returns it back to the Shadow Lord. and I think he brings Thaegan back to life, which in anime terms means that she's going to be a recurring villain. And I'm not mad about it. She was a really cool character, so even though it's not canon, I'm excited to see her again. But now let's actually look at the plot. It's a story about oppression, tyranny, and slavery. Not child-friendly at all, but it works. There is a lot to dissect when it comes to the challenges that the trio met in Thaegan's territory. But let's start with Thaegan herself. The origins of Sorceress Thaegan aren't actually explained in the Lake of Tears, but are discussed in the in-universe book, the Deltora Book of Monsters, which is the book that we'll be talking about in the Dragons of Deltora series. Thaegan was born and raised in the village of Nest, which is in the north of Deltora, by her mother Tam. Now, Tam, she was a good witch, if you like, using her power to heal people and make love potions. Now, Thaegan was blessed with her mother's gift, but Thaegan was ambitious. She was bored of being good and just using her power for healing and love. She wanted more. So, in the classic ambitious magician story fashion, she turned to black magic. When her mother found out, things went down. But Thaegan, being stronger, managed to run away to the mountains separating Deltora from the Shadowlands. 7 years later, she is back, stronger than ever, and becoming the most feared creature in all of Deltora, excluding the Shadow Lord in the last 16 years. And well, we know the rest. She destroys Door for no apparent reason. She takes the Rallard's voices because they protested the fact that she took Door with no reason. She turns a bird that tricked her to save his friend into a giant, and she ends up having 13 kids. A very busy woman. Other than her cruelty, Thaegan was very spiteful, vain, and vengeful. Are we even surprised? So with spite. The reason why Thaegan likes ravens or blackbirds for breakfast is because her mother could transform into one. So to spite her allegedly long-dead mother, she eats them. For vanity, she wanted to be the most beautiful thing, so she would use her magic to keep herself young.
Flower, gleam and glow. Let your power shine.
And finally, revenge. If you hadn't noticed, each of those who were punished by Thaegan by a curse was given a curse to fit the crime. Starting with the bird. Thaegan was about to end a fellow bird's life. Prob's trying to eat him or something. So he distracts Thaegan so that the other bird can escape. Angry, Thaegan takes away this bird's pleasure and livelihood, his ability to fly, which is meant to be a consequence to the fact that he took away a pleasure and livelihood of hers, her food. Now, for the Rallards, they're a very courageous folk. So when they saw the injustice that Thaegan had inflicted on the people of Door, they spoke out against her. To silence them, she literally silenced them, taking away their ability to speak, theirs and the generations to come. And so they continued to watch as Thaegan destroyed every single beautiful thing from then on, without the ability to protest. Now, because Thaegan's territory was barren of anything, when the Shadow Lord came, he didn't actually give it any mind. He didn't have anything to take away from the people living there, because Thaegan had already done so. This was actually a good thing for the Rallards because that's when they started to build themselves up again and help the resistance. 5 years before our main trio went on the quest, Manus actually left Raladin to come to Dal so that he could speak with the resistance. Unfortunately for Manus, he fell into Jin and John's trap, so that never happened. But at least the people of Raladin were able to build an underground city before the Shadow Lord decided to come through and ransack the village above. And finally, we get to the sword tale of Door. Now, Door has such a history, my god. And again, this info isn't in the Lake of Tears, but it's in the in-universe book, Secrets of Deltora, which I mentioned in the Forest of Silence video. And it's also mentioned in the Door Trilogy, also written by Emily Rodda. The people of Door are actually immigrants from the town of Fleet on the island of Dawn. Now, this island was ruled by a very cruel magician called an Altus, which was known to them as Chieftain Alt, who also just happens to be the oldest brother of the Shadow Lord. Great family, I swear. Yeah, so basically, Analtus used to do this ritual each year, which he called the gifting. He would collect 7 young people who he would sacrifice and then suck their life force to give himself immortality. So basically, the citizens of Fleet escaped the island of Dor and landed in Deltora. The Rallids then built them the city of Dor next door. Get it? And that's where the immigrants of Dawn lived ever since. So they escaped Terra to then be met by Terra again. 100 years before the belt of Deltora was broken, Thaegan told the people of Dor that her master, possibly a clue of what Thaegan was doing in the mountains for 7 years, will invade Deltora and the belt will be no more, before turning the Golden City into the Lake of Tears. Now, there is no actual reason given to us for why Thaegan did this, other than she hates everything which is beautiful and happy, probably making it one of the worst motives for a villain ever. But if we were allowed to theorize, perhaps the fact that the people of Dor are descendants of the people of Dawn, who were ruled by the Shadow Lord's older brother, then perhaps the Shadow Lord had sent Thaegan to get rid of any remnants of his past and what they possibly knew about his family and his power. But that's just a theory, a book theory. Now, Nanian was the chief of Dor with his wife Athena when Thaegan took over. And seeing them beautiful and happy, she cursed them with hideousness and sadness. Athena, the stone of the weeping woman in the middle of the lake, and Nanian, the lonely water monster. Soldeen's words are all you need to know that he was very, very sad.
I remember a time when I too, long ago, so long ago.
What's going on?
Oh, I feel a great weight lifted from my heart.
Now, when it came to scattering the gems, it was Thaegan who gave Soldeen the ruby, not the Shadow Lord. The Shadow Lord had actually given the gem to Thaegan, but she reassigned it. Now, if we count Thaegan as the original guardian, then she was the only magic wielder before the Shadow Lord's involvement. And given that Thaegan is a dark magician,
The Dark Magician! Dark Magic Attack!
perhaps the ruby's good magic did something to her when she got near it, which would make sense given the powers of the ruby, which are a symbol of happiness, pales in the presence of evil, so basically it's an evil detector, wards off evil spirits, Thaegan, and is an antidote to snake venom, which is so random, but it's plot armor for the future. Now, given that Soldeen himself isn't evil, he would be able to get near the ruby, no worries. And Thaegan actually gives it to him.
It is my prize, the only thing in this bitter and lonely place that comforts me in my misery.
So yeah, I think that was actually a really smart thing to do on Thaegan's behalf, because the ruby is the symbol of happiness, so she could have easily have tricked Soldeen to protect it for the sake that it may bring him happiness, as the name suggests. But in all honesty, the powers of the ruby are of no use to Soldeen. No one's gonna visit the lake, obvious by his loneliness, and there are no snakes. except in the anime. So again, this is a win-win situation for the Shadow Lord. A guardian that can't use the power of the gem is no threat to him. And given that Thaegan actually respects him, she's no threat either. If we go back to the theory about what Thaegan could have done in those 7 years, it's very plausible that she met the Shadow Lord in those mountains, and he was the one who trained her to become a stronger dark magician.
The Dark Magician! Dark Magic Attack!
And so there's this weird power trip between the Shadow Lord and Thaegan, a mentor-mentee situation going on. With both of them gaining benefits from one another, their allegiance stands strong. But now let's talk about how Thaegan was destroyed. The truth is, just as Gorl, Thaegan sowed the seeds for her own demise. She wanted power, she wanted to be the best, and she saw herself that way. This pride made her do things which made her hated. Now, for Thaegan, she didn't see it as hate. She always thought it was jealousy, because she lives in her cuckoo headspace. Everything was justifiable, because she could do it. Both thought that they were benefiting themselves by using their power to get what they want. And eventually, it was their power which made them oversee the obvious and led to their demise. So, just like Gorl, Thaegan's biggest weakness was letting power get into her head. Now, what we can learn from Thaegan's story, it's a story about ambition going wrong due to pride, aka lust for power. In Thaegan's life and in the story, The Lake of Tears, we can see a contrast in how Thaegan and others gained their power and how they're using it. For one reason or another, Thaegan felt unappreciated. She felt like she was worth more than just helping people. She may have even viewed her mother as weak because she was using her powers and abilities to help. And so to dissociate herself from that weakness, from that life that she didn't want, she does the opposite, going into dark magic and stepping on others to prove her worth. It's a direct consequence of her wanting not to grow up to be like her mother. Now, I don't see any issues with Tam, but Thaegan saw more in her life than just being a healer, and she didn't know how to express that ambition in another way. In the future, she may have possibly met a really bad influence and role model which accentuated that evil approach to actualizing our ambitions, which made her the person that she is today. But we continuously see Thaegan's insecurity in the way that she uses her magic even after she returns from the mountains. Like the fact that she continuously has to make herself look young, or her need to destroy the people of Door because they are more beautiful and happy. What this tells us is Thaegan feels unfulfilled. Her ambition has not been quenched. And so she goes chasing nightmare after nightmare, which in her eyes would be dream after dream, to try and fulfill something, but never does. That could also be said about why she has 13 children, but we'll talk about the children later because her parenting approach reflects heavily her relationship with her mother. And so when we talk about the kids, we'll get into that. What Thaegan has failed to see is that resistance is also power. The fact that her mother was able to become a stronger witch, but chose not to stay on the side of good and the side of being able to help people, is in itself power. The fact that the people of Reladon voiced their concerns against her when she fought an injustice on Dole proves that they are powerful. And because she found that threatening, she took away their voice. The same can be said about the bird. The fact that he decided to trick Thaegan to save his friend means that he didn't fear her. He was more powerful. And because she was afraid of that rebellion, she had to curse him. In all situations, it comes back to the fact that Thaegan is insecure, and so she uses cruelty and her magic to prove that no, she is powerful. But that's all external. Inside, Thaegan is weak. She doesn't have any power. Unlike the people of Door that decide to help leave Barda and Jasmine after the quest, unlike the people of Raladin who stood up against Thaegan, and unlike that poor bird. And so the ending when she is defeated by Kree only reflects the fact that she had no power. At the end, it was the people who are more internally powerful. Thaegan's story is the difference between appearance and reality, what we show on the outside and what's hidden on the inside. And it's what's inside that truly matters. Now, The Lake of Tears is a solid story. I personally like the book better than The Forests of Silence, basically just story-wise. But in terms of level of reading and comprehension, basically the same as The Forest of Silence. There are more puzzles in this one, so there are a bit more pictures, which may make it more appealing to the kids. But in terms of the anime, I actually like the anime episodes a little bit more than the book, just because of those slight changes making it more interesting and appealing to me. I felt like that the puzzles that they added and the action sequences just felt a lot better than when I had imagined them in my head from the book. But overall, yeah, really good story. Absolutely love it. And that's book 2 of series 1, The Lake of Tears. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any more Deltora Quest content. Please make sure to stay tuned to next week's reaction video of episodes 8, 9, and 10 of the anime Deltora Quest. And chuck in the comments suggestions for different movies or series that you guys would like to see me analyze. And so, be brave, be happy, and be kind, and we'll catch you all next time.